Vuyo is a member of South Africa's Parliament and president of the African Transformation Movement, a political party there. Thanks so much for your time and coming on our program today. We got a good overview there from Jim Spellman, our reporter, in terms of how, some of those key moments in the meeting. It wasn't quite as fraught as the meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, but it wasn't far off it. What was your take in terms of how it was handled?
The meeting showed the different perspectives of the two presidents and two delegations. On one side, President Trump was focusing on the issue concerning the refugees, the Afrikaners, and the claims of genocide. On the other side, the president of South Africa focused on issues of trade, issues of improving the trade relations between the two countries. However, the view that is shared, especially from our side of the world, which is South Africa, is that this was an opportune moment for the president of the country to really affirm to the world media that would be following the particular engagement that there is no any form of genocide in our country. The people that have left our country were not leaving because there's a targeted killing of people because of the color of their skin. So that is what was missing from the engagement from the side of the South African delegation.
It was a difficult moment there, though, wasn't it? Obviously, Trump was questioned about his reasoning for giving these Afrikaners refugee status, and then more or less Ramaphosa was ambushed by these clips and articles that Trump presented to him and his cabinet. Can you talk a little bit more about these minority parties that Trump showed in some of these clips? I know they don't have any power in Parliament, so to speak, but how much influence do they have in terms of the social conversation around race in South Africa?
Firstly, MK and EFF are not minority parties. MK is the official opposition in the South African Parliament in one province, which is the KwaZulu-Natal. It is the party that got the largest number of votes. The issue on this, on the political speak that was played in those videos, it shows the level of frustration of South African citizens who feel that after 1994, from the transition of apartheid to the democracy, not much has been done to make South Africa more equal and more inclusive. There are still racial undertones to the economy. There are still undertones which are racial on the land ownership patterns, and that will make it to the floor of Parliament, because Parliament ultimately is the voice of the people. Therefore, if the people are frustrated in the streets, the leaders who are genuinely for South African citizens need to express the voices of the people in their respective parliament.
Which is what Ramaphosa was saying about how inequality contributes or creates crime. Now, South Africa has spearheaded a case at the International Court of Justice accusing Israel of committing genocide in Gaza, allegations the ICJ described as plausible. The White House cited the ICJ case in the executive order that cut off US aid to South Africa in February. If two visions of genocide, both core of each country's foreign policy, are so different, how might this be reconciled, especially as Ramaphosa is desperate to find an agreement on trade?
Well, if the issue of genocide is backed by facts, then there should be no question of, conflict of approaches, because genocide is morally it is morally wrong, regardless whether you look at it in Israel, anywhere in the country. Now, the facts that are there is that there is genocide happening in Palestine. There's videos to prove that. There is the experiences of many Palestinians to prove that. But when you come to South Africa, no one can confidently say there's genocide, because even the white people in the delegation there, Johan Rupert, any else, did speak. They did not say there is genocide, because if there was genocide, there was no way only 49 Afrikaners out of millions of Afrikaners in South Africa would flee. In fact, one of the Afrikaners that left actually left behind his mother. There is no person that flees a genocidal state who'd leave behind his loved ones. What we have here as a problem is that there seems to be a certain agenda that is driven by President Trump that is using to push or to suppress South Africa towards submission. And they are using the issue of wanting to correct the wrongs of the past, because the issue of the signing of the Expropriation Act, it is to correct the wrongs of the past. However, there is no genocide. There are no white Afrikaners who've been losing or evicted from their farms. When it happened in a neighboring country, there was evidence to show it. But in South Africa, no one, not Mr. Trump, has ever said or shown any evidence of any discrimination or hatred or violence that is directed towards white Afrikaners because of the actions of Black South Africans or the government.
And is this in some way an unfair thorn in the side of South Africa now, in a position where it is, South Africa is the second biggest trade partner after China with the US. It's now at the mercy of 30% tariffs by Trump. What do we know about what South Africa needs in terms of a trade proposal? And do you think that South Africans are concerned that he may try and placate Trump and make too many concessions?
There is that concern that indeed he may do that, because the fact that President Trump indicated to him who to bring to the delegation, and he happily obliged. And the people that were part of the delegation, they kept mentioning Starlink, which is a company that is refusing to cooperate with the laws of South Africa when it comes to ownership. And it is something that is deeply problematic when a company, Starlink, wants to operate in South Africa, but does not want to comply with the laws of South Africa. Yet Chinese companies, when they are going to operate in the USA, the USA government is very firm to say those companies must comply with the laws of USA. So the issue on our side is Mr. Ramaphosa wanting a win for his sake will make so many concessions which will not benefit South Africans and which will not affirm our sovereignty and mutual respect, whereby countries can engage, but that engagement must be based on mutual respect and the respect of the different countries' sovereignty, because USA needs South Africa when it comes to trade, as much as South Africa also requires some products from the USA.
Certainly lots of discussions to be had between the presidents. Vuyo Zungula, we really appreciate your insight today. Thank you for joining us on the program.